Hey there, thanks for tuning into Duckbricks. I'm Chris, and this is a brand new concept for a LEGO Ninjago 2025 set. It's Lloyd's pullback race car, something they actually have never done in Ninjago before. But now, let's jump into my review of this brand new set and see how it stacks up compared to the rest of the 2025 January lineup. Let's go. Okay, so here we have a new concept for a LEGO set. This is Lloyd's pullback race car. It will retail for $25 when it releases on January 1st and comes with Lloyd, a Dragonian warrior, some little bits of fire, and the main event, which is this pullback car. This is utilizing the standard LEGO Technic pullback motor that we've seen in a ton of other LEGO Technic cars. And if you want to demonstrate how that works, let me just showcase right here. We will pull this back like so, and then let it rip and completely just drive off and demolish these surroundings. I actually think it's pretty cool that the car did manage to include some little flame elements because, of course, you could either use those as bits of flame arcing off of the car as it's racing forwards, or just use it as different things to topple over like you saw just now. We'll take a closer look at the minifigures in my minifigure specific video because I do want to focus up on the vehicles and builds themselves in these individual reviews, and altogether, let's take a look at this car. Obviously, you can see that aesthetically speaking, it is a really slick race car. It has lime green and bright green accents, some really nice integrations of gold blades, like you have those climber blades from earlier this year being used as a gigantic back spoiler, which I think actually works out really well. You have the lightning elements being used in the transparent green color, similar to Lloyd's mech, as bits and pieces of energy arcing off of the vehicle as it's racing forwards, and then you just have a very simple system to pull it back, and as you can see, the motor works totally great. These wheels are recolored in the lime color, which is very cool, and the entire thing races forwards. So here's the thing about the set. Because the entirety of the build is focused on the pullback gimmick, I definitely feel like the build is one of the least visually interesting Ninjago vehicles we've gotten in a long time. It basically is just a standard race car with a few giant blade elements on the back. I think the most interesting part of the build for me was the usage of these longer lift arm elements that they did just introduce in a different color for a LEGO train, but this time they're coming in green for this car. But altogether, it's a very Technic heavy build. You're utilizing the Technic motor on the back, and unfortunately because of that, most of the motor is this dark gray color, which doesn't even really fit in the color scheme and isn't really well covered up. Clearly, the designers were just having to make this as simple as possible for actually having the play feature work, for making it feel fast and racing along, and while I think it is cool to get a pullback Ninjago race car, it certainly isn't quite as interesting as maybe some of the other sets we've gotten for Ninjago in the past. Now, I do like that you do have one opponent to battle here, as well as the fire, but if the pullback motor wasn't there, this would have totally been just a $20 set, and I'm not necessarily so sure the extra $10 is warranted just to make the pullback function work. I don't know, maybe it's just me, but I definitely would always prefer the aesthetics of a good-looking car with maybe a different style of gimmick, rather than utilizing most of the set budget on a pullback motor. But I will totally admit that I am not the target audience for a set like this, and I'm sure a lot of kids are going to really love a Ninjago pullback car because we haven't gotten that before. For what it is, I think it's pretty cool. It is fairly slick, and I think the designers did a fairly good job of integrating the color scheme in. You have some headlights on the front, you have some nice, almost like steampunkish details with the gears on the front here for the headlight, as well as the golden detailing for the blades. It's very consistent in the way they're doing it, with sharp golden pieces. You have lime as a highlight color and then green as the interior color, but altogether, it's just simply not the most interesting set to me. I think value-wise, $30 is very, very high for something like this, and I'd be really curious to hear what folks have to say about that. The minifigure itself, and again, we'll be taking a much closer look at these figures in later videos, is just utilizing the new set of suits for the wave. No armor for this character though, which is unfortunate, but I guess they just did that to make him fit easily in the car. You can see it is a new dual molded mask component, which is really interesting. It almost looks looks like an extreme racer's mask or kind of like a race car type thing, which I guess makes sense given that LEGO is kind of focusing on racing this coming year and this is a race car. And the Dragonian is nice as well, even though he does not include the back dragon component for the wings, which I think would have been really cool. I don't really know why they didn't include it, other than the fact that maybe it feels like a more stable figure with the tail on the ground, and they wanted to make him topple over more easy if you actually have Lloyd just run him over recklessly on the street. Honestly, I feel like the thing that is interesting to me about the set is the very fact that it exists. It feels like a hybrid between system and Technic. There is absolutely just a lot of Technic being used here, and it's just a really interesting build in general because it feels like a Technic car with a few system pieces added on. Especially with the inclusion of the blades in the back, it almost feels like one of those Bionicle sets they would have done back in the day, where they take a construction blade and just slap it onto a system build and call it a day. It's just such a weird thing, and for $25, I don't really know if this is gonna sell that well. It's not that big, I'm not really sure how popular it's going to be compared to some of the other vehicles, but the gimmick is admittedly fun, and I'm very curious to hear what other folks think of there being a pullback car for LEGO Ninjago. That's all for this video. Thank you all so much for tuning in to Duck Bricks, and be sure to like and subscribe for even more LEGO news, reviews, discussion, and analyses coming your way very soon. Bye for now.